Time would be spent best uniting ourselves with God and preparing to die for our holy faith, Fray one day Jesus advised. That's Friar John of Jesus, for the collaterals will soon end in the ashes and many of us in death. Governor Juan Francisco Trevino, who had arrived in the province in 1675, dealt with the widespread Native American sedition by launching a campaign against idolatry at Nambi, San Felipe, and Yemez. He had known sorcerers. Hung. When that Fantasia, Mickey Mouse's Fantasia, first it was Harry Potter, then Mickey Mouse's Fantasia. What's next? 47 medicine men who admitted practicing witchcraft were arrested. Do you practice witchcraft? I sure do. Are you a crazy ass sorcerer? The devil. They're all going to blame the devil after this. Interesting that they would murder and maim and rape in the name of their God and say that those who fought against them were influenced by the devil. I don't know. Sounds like your God's a devil to me. At Nambi, San Felipe, Jimenez, he had known sorcerers. 47 medicine men, San Felipe Jimenez. This is where Popay comes in. Popay is going to be radicalized by the Spaniards. Why did Popay throw a revolution? Popay had no fucking choice. He was 50 years old. He'd been living in Taos in northern New Mexico his entire life. These Spaniard bastards have been treating everybody like shit. It was slavery, right? It was just the damn Spaniards come in, thought that because they had guns and horses, they could just tell everybody else what to fucking do, and then everybody else was just supposed to obey them. When really the entire basis for the foundation of the Spanish Empire was slavery. Without the backs of the slaves, even when the Pueblo Revolt happens, 1680 Pueblo Revolt happens, the Spaniards still have an opportunity to give up their slaves, and they don't. And these are Native American slaves, so these are the brown slaves. The other slavery, as this author, this guy here, Andres Resendez, the other slavery, Andres Resendez. The uncovered story of Indian enslavement in America. The brown enslavement. The brown enslavement, right? Because there's just brown and black and peach and pink and mahogany and Trevino's going to capitulate. So this is before these men could be taken out of the kingdom, the Tiwa, armed with clubs and shields, descended onto Santa Fe. So thank God for the Tiwa, the Pueblo natives, the Tiwa, the warriors. I want to say like 70 Tiwa. They don't say a name in this little, but Tiwa. The Tiwa came and saved the day because they're going to send Popay, just sell him down the river, sell him on down the Rio Grande. And then history would have forgot it. Who knows where he would have ended up. Instead, the Tiwa, they come with clubs and shields, and they say, hey, we're here to fight. No. Give us back our people. We're here to fight. And the governor was like, well, shit. Next, he was like, wait a second, children. The governor is this Trevino, Governor Juan Francisco Trevino. Trevino said, hey, you Native Americans, Popay and the 47 medicine men who I just beat up and was going to sell into slavery, I'll go ahead and pardon you if you forsake idolatry and iniquity. Iniquity? All right, we'll forsake iniquity, but we're not going to forsake idolatry. Deal! The Indians, the Native Americans stirred from Trevino, capitulated. So he tried to get them to say, why don't you knock it off with your idols? And actually there was one report where apparently the sorcery had killed some people in 1675. That's when we heard that the witchcraft, the Native American witchcraft, was blamed for killing 7 friars and 3 settlers. So that's interesting. You think it was the Spanish who created Popay, but maybe it was Popay who created the The Spanish, 7 friars, 3 settlers were killed because of the witchcraft in 1675. That's why Trevino's rounding up a bunch of sorcerers, because of the 7 friars and 3 settlers. But that doesn't make sense. Witchcraft killed them. But this is 1600s, right? This is Salem, Massachusetts. There's women are being strung up for witchcraft. So it's all a bunch of bullshit, right? These stupid Christy ass fucking shishins. These damn Christy ass shishins. Well, we believe in the Bible and the priest and the things, so therefore you gotta be our slaves. Christians, you don't make any sense. Your KKK motherfuckers are going around in the name of Jesus. Well, you know, what would Jesus do? Well, Jordan Neely, he would send him to the mental, he would choke him out for 15 minutes. Jesus Christ doesn't give a shit if you're hungry and thirsty or if you're naked. He's not going to give you any clothes or bread. That's not what Jesus does. Gives you bread and fish to the multitude. Is you crazy? No, he strikes the tree down. He strikes the dogwood tree. He curses the dogwood tree, strikes the fig tree, flips over the money changing tables. Christ is a badass warrior, son of a bitch. He's a goddamn fucking ninja. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shelf. In a half shelf. In a half shell. You fucking asshole. 1672. Let's get a little taste of the 1680 revolt. The Germano natives are going to revolt in the Abo Pueblo. The Germano natives, the Germanos are fucking pissed. They went ahead and burnt down the Catholic Church. The damn conquistadors are trafficking labor, sex. This is fucking Christopher Columbus and fucking Pizarro de Soto. Fucking Spanish conquistadors were some of the most sickest barbaric sons of bitches. They had no ethics. They had no morals. They came to just conquer and take, and everybody else and every fucking thing else be damned. But, disease caught up with De Soto. They chucked De Soto's body into the Mississippi River. Pizarro, Cortez, these motherfucking Coronados, Onate, fucking Onate, motherfucking Coronado. Pedro de Avila y Ayala. Fray Pedro de Avila de Ayala. He's going to get tomahawked to death. They're going to burn his church down him. They're going to put a rope around his neck and just kind of beat him up and flog him. Flog him, strip him naked, flog him. They're going to find this Fray Pedro de Avila y Ayala naked. His body is hugging onto a cross. This is 1672. So they actually sold 47 into slavery, and they're going to be rescued. Thank God for the Tiwa. The confrontation between Trevino and the Tiwa over the medicine men indicated how radicalized and defiant the Puebloans had become. One of the men who felt the sting of Trevino's whip was Popay, a San Juan medicine man. Pope had promised Popay, the Pope. So that's his fucking name is brilliant. I wonder if it's Pope, because it's like, the Catholic, the Pope says, the bishop says that the friar has to do the thing, and the thing, and the thing. Well, shit, then I'm the fucking Pope. No, I'm the fucking Pope. Old Popay. He said, for every Spaniard that was killed, you're going to get a woman. You're going to get your woman. You're going to get your wife back. You're going to get your Native American wife back. Trevino, he actually started he got the fucking slave trade. There was some talk about ending slavery for a minute. One of the fucking monarchs was talking about it. But Trevino, that motherfucker, they brought the shit back. Francisco, Xavier, Trevino, they didn't give a shit. They didn't give a goddamn shit. What's so flying fucking ever? So you have San Juan de Taos, the northernmost Pueblo, to escape the governor's watchful eye to apply to province. So he's going to go from San Juan to Taos. He's sick of this shit. At Taos Popay, I wonder if he had something to do with the 7 friars who were killed and the 3 settlers. But I wonder if it was maybe just the injustice of the whole thing. Okay, they died of fucking old age. They drank their own piss shit water and died of fucking dysentery. They killed themselves. And because 7 friars and 3 settlers killed themselves, they're going to blame it on witchcraft. There's no such thing as witchcraft. Now, there is a bunch of fucking pieces of shit. If you're just a rude motherfucker to somebody, you know, I feel like the evil that's behind someone shooting a gun and the evil that's behind someone, you know, just kicking over your fucking flower garden, your flower pots. It's kind of the same evil. It's the same hatred. It's just a different degree. Hate is hate. Hate is hate. And we're trying to create a peaceful society here. We don't want a war society. We want a peaceful society. Popay's genius lay in his brilliant organizational skills and his ability to inflame the popular imagination through the millennialism he articulated. He told the disaffected and the hungry and the displaced that their ancient gods would not return bearing gifts of happiness and prosperity. Not until the fucking Catholics and the Christians and their fucking God were dead. Then their sadness and their misery would end. For they would be as they had been at the time of emergence from the underworld. They would gather large crops of grain, maize with large and thick ears, many bundles of cotton, many calabashes and watermelons, and they'd enjoy abundant health and leisure to those elders and chiefs who had been flayed by the friars for their polygamous marriages or sheared of their hair as fornicators. You all had sex. Popay promised that whoever kills a Spaniard will get an Indian woman for a wife, and he who kills 4 Spaniards will get 4 women, and so on and so forth, to a people who had seen their agricultural lands usurped and their tribute payments grow onerous. Over time, Popay offered liberation. When the Spaniards were all dead, he promised they would break the lands and enlarge their cultivated fields, free from the labor they performed for the religious and the Spaniards. The Spaniards came in and just said, do our religion, do our language, now do all of our work. Now, wait a second. The first 2 seem like you were trying to share your culture. The third one seems like you're just a bunch of lying, bullshitting, evil motherfucking piles of shit worshiping the fucking devil Pope and the fucking goddamn bullshit Jesus. Oh, yeah, like there was a real Jesus Christ. You have no fucking evidence of this shit. None. You got no evidence. It was created by the Romans just to get the radical Jewish folks to forsake Judaism. Why was Jesus a Jew? It's a literary construction. It's all bullshit. Katsina showed Popay how to defeat. They weren't letting him do the little dances. What were their dances called? Well, they weren't allowed to do them. The papushkas. Katsina. Katshinas. Emitting fire from all the extremities of their bodies. What's a Katsina? Caldi Tellini. Katsina, who lived in the Kiva, the Taoist medicine society, but never came out. They told Popay they were going underground to the lake of Kapala, and they'd return after the Spaniards were gone. The Katsina showed Popay how to defeat the Christians, gave him a knotted cord, which he was to circulate to all the pueblos. Those villages that wished to join the rebellion were to untie one night as a sign of obedience, and then the others would count the days to the revolt. So they'd have a rope of 15 knots. Untied one, you're down with the fucking cause, and then every day. August 13th is when it was supposed to start, but the plan's going to get founded out, and Popay's going to begin a day early. But the Hopi and the Acoma were way the fuck out there. They did it on the 13th or on the day they were supposed to. Popay enlisted the Caciques of Taos and Picurus and San Lorenzo, Santo Domingo, Jemez, and Pecos. Jemez, and Pecos, as well as a number of prominent mixed bloods, Domingo Naranjo from Santa Clara, Nicholas Hanva, Janva from San Ildefonso and Domingo Romero and Tisascu. All right, that's enough. That's enough of this. August 11th, 1680, the first night of the new moon, was chosen as a date. They knew the settlers would be most vulnerable to attack right before the triennial supply caravan arrived from Mexico City in mid-September with ammunition and horses. Wait, how'd they know all that? August 9th, 1680, Popay dispatched 2 messengers to all the pueblos with knotted cords, indicated they had 2 days remaining. They told the catechues that a letter from Popay, Ye Mu, the father of all the Indians, their great captain who had been, since the world had been inundated, had arrived from the north, informing them that all of them should rebel, that any pueblo that would not agree to it, they would destroy, killing all the people. Holy moly. So the father of fathers is coming down from on high, and if we don't fight the Spanish, then our God's going to, you know what all this insanity, I mean, I don't know what religion the native Puebloan people were, but the Haitian Revolution began with a voodoo dance and a voodoo ceremony. Old Bookman, old Delilah Bookman, Bookman, a guy named Bookman, but what makes it, the revolution is just a self-defense principle for a nation. And so what it seems like is you need a spark of insanity. You kind of need, people, a Boston Tea Party, a Boston Massacre. You kind of need a little bit of, John Brown trying to take over the Harper's Ferry arsenal. You need a little bit of insanity. You need a little spark, a little ignition to, light the powder keg, so to speak. Friar Juan Pio, like any Sunday morning, he began August 10th. He left Santa Fe on foot to say Mass at Tesseque, accompanied by his armed escort Pedro Hidalgo, but on this day the Pueblo was totally deserted. The friars searched everywhere for the natives, finally found them a few miles outside the village, armed and wearing war paints. What is this, children? Are you mad? Friar Juan Pio, oh shit, do not disturb yourselves, I will help you, and I will die 1,000 deaths for you. Before he could say anything else, a shower of arrows pierced his breast. Pedro Hidalgo would have been killed too had he not been on his horse. He barely escaped, and by 10 that morning was back in Santa Fe reporting to the governor. All day emissaries from every part of the kingdom arrived in Santa Fe, telling of the massacres they had seen. The natives' fury had struck the entire province like a bolt of lightning. In one moment, the century's work seemed destroyed. The revolt proceeded as Popay had instructed. First, the natives stole or killed the principal nerve of warfare, the horses and mules, which the Spaniards had introduced into the province, which had been so instrumental in the conquest and subordination of the Puebloans. Without these beasts of burden, the Spaniards were helpless against mounted Pueblo and Apache warriors. Without horses, the Spanish could not communicate rapidly with the centers of authority in New Spain. Native American runners could outrun and outstalk any settler. Whatever technological advances the Spaniards had on account of their armaments, the natives, offset in numbers against roughly 170 colonists capable of bearing arms, stood 8,000 or more Native American warriors, a ratio of approximately 1 to 50. 1 to 50. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That's the great thing about it being a revolutionary, is that you could see injustice wherever you go. Anytime anybody, rapes or robs or maims or murders an innocent for no apparent reason, that's not just, that's not right. The society that I would like, because I believe that in my heart, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. When you have a fucking criminal, we all just fucking jump on top of that motherfucker and say, stop with your damn crimes. And then we let him up slowly, and we unboot to him, and we, but we make sure the victim pick up the victim, dust the victim's shoulders off, make sure they're safe and sound, and make sure they're okay. Once they're fine and dandy and they're okay, then what the fuck are you doing now? You're just being a sadistic piece of shit. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. But I very much feel alone in that sentiment. And I'm sure people will say, oh, I believe that too. Yeah, right. Chief Foray of the Utes, Don Diego de Vargas, Tiwatoa, the Utes, Ute Mountain, Blanca Mountain, Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Was that White Mountain? Ute Mountain. Ute Mountain in the south of Costilla County, Blanca Mountain in the north, Sangre de Cristo, the Blood of Christ Mountains right there on the east side, the Apache, Comanche, the Mansos, Conchos, Shawnee, Kiowa, Lenape, Tecumseh. Tecumseh was such a great dog. Whenever I would drive my truck, Tecumseh would just jump right up there in the middle, like in between the two chairs. And it was just, kind of perfect because you could just like pet his head right there. And then he was just kind of, sort of being a dog, propped up, standing and riding the car. Whenever Tim Tim would growl, Tim Tim likes to bully, any of the dogs that will let him bully him. But Tim Tim would try to growl Tecumseh. Tecumseh would just kind of look at him all pitifully and pathetically. Tecumseh showed me actually kind of how to love, Tim Tim would be just underneath the bed of the RV, and then Tecumseh would just be sitting there like looking right at Tim Tim. Hi there, little buddy. Hi there, little pup of mine. And I got Tim Tim for Tecumseh. And then I got Yida for Tim Tim. And so, Dragon Canoe, Atacolacola. Tecumseh, Tecumseh. The 1680 Pueblo Revolution. It's not just a revolt. They call it a Pueblo Revolt. It's actually a fucking revolution. It's a 10-year, 11-year revolution. They're going to overthrow the Spanish, the Native Americans, the Puebloans, right? With just their simple bow and arrow and their stones and their rocks and their sticks and their whatever they can find. The Native Americans overthrew the Spaniards, and for 10, 11, 12 years, this 100-year project that the Spanish had invested so much time and effort to Christianize the natives and to colonize the desert. They built like 40 churches in the middle of nowhere. But it was a revolution, and it was an iconoclastic revolution. An iconoclastic revolution. They're going to destroy the churches, destroy every fucking... every stained glass, every statue, every single damn saint of a fucking thing. Anything that was something that attached to the Spanish or the Catholicism, something attached to the religion or the people. Fuck it all. Fuck them all. Fuck every bit of every fucking thing that they've done. Look what the fuck they've done. They've ruined it all. They've ruined it all for all of us. They've kidnapped our kids. They've raped our women. They've raped and pillaged our culture. They're taking it all. They're making us slaves. Look at us. Look at the degradation. This is sickening. This is disgusting. This is bullshit. Where is Dragon Canoe and Atacolacola when you need them? The Navajo and the Apaches. It's time to unite. Come on, Comanches, Mansos, Conchos. You had 12,000 Puebloans, but you had like 1,000 or 2,000 Apaches and Comanches. Once the people in the households, once the Native Americans in the houses got pissed the fuck off, that's when shit changed. A lot of the Navajo children were enslaved by their own people, at least in Costilla and Conejos County. A lot of the children who were slaves of the Spanish conquerors were Navajo. I guess English conquerors, fucking Lafayette Head, that perverted oppressor, molester, piece of shit. Fuck Lafayette Head. Fuck Christopher Columbus, perverted sons of bitches. They're a bunch of Jeffrey Epstein sons of motherfucking bitches. Goddamn motherfuckers. Once the horses were in Indian hands, Popay's forces isolated the settlements in the northern half of the kingdom, the Rio Arriba, from those in the southern half, the Rio Abajo. In the north, all roads to Santa Fe were blocked, and one by one the Spanish settlements were pillaged and razed by the natives, who scavenged whatever armaments they could find. In a few hours, 401 settlers and 21 friars were killed. In just a few hours, 401 settlers and 21, that's 20% of the population. That's 20% of the population, and 21 of the priests. That's the friars of the priest. Out of 33. 21 out of the 33 priests, they were like, you know what? You brought your shit. You act like you're nice, gentle, fucking this and that. You're a piece of shit. Your God isn't a good person. You're a fucking devil, motherfucker. You devil worshipping, evil wicked motherfucking pile of shit. You just want us to obey. You just want us to obey so you can exploit us and steal our labor, you pieces of shit. Fucking molester, oppressor, authoritarian, fascist, SOBs, these Chomo mofos are on some dumb dosho. Those who survived gathered at the governor's residence in Santa Fe. The colonists of the Rio Abajo gathered at Isleta. And Santa Fe that's it. Santa Fe has been, by August 13, all the villages in the Rio Arriba had been destroyed, and only Santa Fe stood, surrounded by Pueblo and Apache warriors who were ready for a final assault, grossly outnumbered but stubbornly refusing to admit defeat. Otterman. So now we have a new New Mexico governor. He can give up the natives, he can give up the slaves, but he's not going to. This fucking stupid ass Otterman piece of shit. It's an iconoclastic revolution. The oppression got to be too fucking much. Of course you have a right to defend yourself. Dana White had a right to defend himself. Abraham Lincoln had a right to defend himself. Steven Crowder has a right to defend himself. Self-defense is intelligence. What kind of piece of shit would tell someone don't defend themselves? Christian, turn the other cheek. Yeah, so you could attack me and turn me into a slave and take my money, take my sweat, take my blood, sweat, toil, and tears. Nah, how about I don't? How about you obey? Surrounded by Pueblo and Apache warriors who are ready for a final assault, grossly outnumbered but stubbornly refusing to admit defeat, Otterman made one last peace overture through Juan Etano, native servant turned rebel leader. Otterman implored the catechues that even though they had committed so many atrocities there, still there was a remedy for if they would return to obedience to his majesty, and they would be pardoned. The chiefs jeered and demanded through Chief Juan, that all classes of Indians who were in our power be given up to them, both those in the service of the Spaniards and those of the Mexican nation of that suburb of Anoco. He demanded also that his wife and children be given up to him, and likewise that all the Apache men and women whom the Spaniards had captured in war be turned over to them, in as much as some Apaches who were among them were asked for them. Otterman refused, and then the Battle of Santa Fe began. For 9 days, Santa Fe lay under siege. To hasten the colonists' surrender, the rebels cut off their food and water. By August 20th, the Native Americans sensed victory. That night they were heard shouting gleefully, "Now the God of the Spaniards, who was their father, is dead, and Santa Maria, who was their mother, and the saints were pieces of rotten wood, and that their own God, whom they obeyed, had never died at all. Determined that it was better to die fighting than of hunger and thirst, the colonists at Santa Fe marshaled all their firepower for a final assault on the morning of August 21st. The strategy worked. Popay's forces quickly lost 350 men and temporarily were set to flight. At the day's end, Otterman and the settlers decided to abandon Santa Fe before the Indians recouped their losses and returned to rout them. Otterman hoped that he would be able to join forces with the settlers of the Rio Abajo, whom he thought were still gathered at Isleta, and return north with them to subdue the apostates. But unbeknownst to him, the refugees at Isleta had already fled south toward El Paso. Out in El Paso, life would be worthless. Colonists' retreat south from Santa Fe was filled with horrors. In every village they found piles of mutilated bodies strewn amid ashes of still smoldering fires. At Sandia, Pueblo, the mission statues were covered with excrement. 2 chalices had been discarded in a basket of manure, and the paint on the altar's crucifix had been stripped off with a whip. Feces covered the Holy Communion table. The Holy Communion table and the arms of a statue of St. Francis had been hacked off with an axe. At every mission along their route, they reported the most unspeakable profanations of Christian sacra. As sacre bleu, the Christians felt equal revulsion on seeing and hearing how the friars had died. On the August night of rebellion, the Jemez natives apprehended Fray Juan de Jesus and bound him naked onto a pig's back and paraded him through the town, heaping all sorts of jeers and blows onto him. Then they removed him from the pig, forced him onto his hands and knees, and took turns riding atop his back, repeatedly spurring his haunches to prod him forward. "Giddy up, boy! Come on, Fray Juan de Jesus! Giddy up, boy!" Then, when the warriors were ready to kill him, some dissension erupted in their ranks, but showing a fidelity to death and a love for his persecutors that the manuals of martyrdom assured him would win a crown in heaven, Father Juan allegedly said, "Children, I am a poor old man. Do not fight. Do not kill each other in order to protect me. Do what God permits." How does anybody know what the fuck he is saying in perfect English? And so they shoved the sword through his heart, through his rear and his heart, and they gave him numerous blows. His body was discovered by the Spaniards in some woods near the Pueblo. Though the Christians were all aghast at how the Pueblo natives had manifested their anger, one only has to recall the massive desecration of Katsina, Mass, Kivas, and other native sacra that occurred during the Spanish conquest. Just destroying their trinkets. No, they destroyed people, you mother.